Hi class, welcome again to another session on rehabilitation engineering. So today we shall discuss Frenkel's exercise. So Frenkel's exercise were proposed by a Swiss physician called Dr. H.S. Frenkel, and these exercises use sensations of sight, sound and touch to establish voluntary control of movement. So they compensate for kinesthetic sensory loss, right? So here, the patient actually performs exercises by seeing things, by hearing sounds, or by touching various objects, various shape objects, and then to establish voluntary control. So, first of all, and most important point of Frenkel's principle is that a patient should never be left unattended at any point, because there are chances that the patient might fall and injure himself or herself. So it is very essential that you never leave a patient unattended, right? No matter how urgent work you have, you should never leave the patient unattended. If there is some situation where you absolutely have to go and attend something else and then come back to your patient, make sure that you have someone else, you're one of your co-workers, watch the patient while you go finish your business and come back, right? So you should never leave a patient unattended, and then a patient should be adept in each exercises before he or she is allowed to proceed towards a new, more difficult exercise. Like we discussed in the coordination activity, if you throw too many new things on a patient with coordination issues, then the patient would get confused. They wouldn't understand exactly what to do, how to do, and when to do. So that would, the whole purpose of rehabilitation would be ruined if this is something that you do. Therefore, you have to make sure that a patient has mastered a particular activity before you move on to the next activity. Now, in our coordination exercises, our main focus is to make sure that complex activity is being the user or the disabled person is able to perform complex activity. So our aim is to monitor the progression of complexity and see how easily they are able to do complex activity rather than how strong their muscle contraction is. So the main aim should not be to assess the muscle strength or muscle contraction, but the main aim should be able to assess how easily a person is able to perform complex activity. Then the patient should practice exercises with their eyes open first and then their eyes closed. Then with their eyes closed. Now, if your eyes are open, then you get a visual feedback, and then you are able to assess yourselves and see whether you're doing something right or wrong. Or you can look at someone else who's performing the activity, and then you can correct yourselves. Once a patient has mastered the activity to a certain level, he or she should be asked to close their eyes and practice the exercise. So that way they'd be consciously able to feel feel the effect each muscle is having while they're performing that activity. So that would help them learn things better. So that will give them a better sensory feedback from the muscles towards the brain, and they get used to the sensation of how the body feels when they perform particular exercise. In the beginning, movements in bigger range are preferred over smaller range, because performing movements in smaller range is slightly difficult when compared to larger range of movement, and then it should be performed rapidly initially and then slowly as well. So such movement should be given, both rapid and slow movement should be practiced, because you never know on day-to-day life when the person has to pick up speed and when the person has to slow down. So you have to make sure that you cover all aspects of re-educating the patient. Exercise for upper and lower limb extremities are prescribed while sitting and lying down, etc. Again, you never know in which situation the patient might want to use a certain movement. So exercising upper and lower extremity should be performed while they are seated and while they are lying down in all sorts of positions, so that they become more dexterous, they are more versatile in performing activities. Now often Children who come for coordination therapy get really bored with repeated exercises. If the same mundane exercise is being, if it's repeated again and again, then children get very, very bored. So in order to make things interesting for them, you should perform some interactive activities for them, such as, using putty or, molding clay or Play-Doh for them to, mold things up and knead them. So, and then you can use building blocks or Lego blocks for, constructing various structures. So not only will that, improve their imagination, it's also going to improve their hand-eye coordination. And then drawing on a chalkboard, drawing on a blackboard, or tailing a donkey, all these exercises are actually making them use their finger and, try and have that hand-eye coordination improve. So ultimately, these activities would be helpful for children in movements such as using a knife and fork, or dressing and undressing, or combing their hair, and performing, activities of daily living. So these activities will help improve their activities of daily living performance, and it will also keep the therapy interesting for the children. I think that's all to speak about Frenkel's exercises. I hope you had a very fruitful session learning about it with me. I shall see you again in another video soon. Till then, take care.